We took a new step towards meeting Putin and Trump. This topic was not even discussed, but what we did in the context of better understanding of each other's positions and in the context of the fact that the Americans now better understand the logic of our position, this is for sure. This was important because Kushner had just joined, and therefore it was important for him for a certain time. It was important to feel what kind of person our president is, with what ideas and principles he goes to talk to the Americans. And in this regard, the meeting was very successful. I will take the courage to say that our president, Kushner, was also impressed. And what is his role here? He's a large businessman. Who is he in these negotiations? They are all large businessmen. Itkov also has very large businessmen. They are all not poor, influential people, but they have now dedicated part of their lives, part of their free time to achieve good results. But they are not diplomats. Is it difficult for you with them in this regard? There is a docking of those difficult positions that should determine the form and fate of the future document, and specifically, specific proposals, formulations, meetings with lawyers. This path will still need to be passed, but it cannot be passed without the participation of specialists, including representatives of the Foreign Ministry, representatives of the State Department, legal services, and so on. How seriously do they agree? How serious are these contradictions at this point? Well, some questions really require serious, I would say, radical changes from the Americans in their documents, which are constantly in motion, constantly preparing. Our fighters at the front made sure that these negotiations took place in a more favorable environment. All this is taken into account. We are moving forward confidently, and no one can deny this, including the Americans. By the way, did you notice that Trump said, "Oh, you Zelensky, if you had listened to me in February, you would have received more favorable conditions for this peace treaty. And now your positions are getting worse, and you must now accept what we have agreed with the Russians." The Americans have done everything for 30 years to arrange this conflict between Russia and Ukraine. They became its main instigators, promoted NATO to us, to our borders. And now it turns out the Americans are almost the main peacekeepers. I understand that these are different Americans. Yes, these are the Americans with whom we are talking now. They emphasize in every way that they are different, that Trump is a different person, he has a different ideology. The Americans have broken their promise not to expand NATO. Europe has torn off the Minsk agreements. And where is the guarantee that if we agree on something, these agreements will be fulfilled? These Americans are afraid that if Trump agrees on something, it will be concrete. Now we are not talking about some kind of truce, but about the prospects of long-term settlement. This is what is important. And in this context, we are working with them. The current administration is fundamentally different from the previous ones. And of course, now President Trump is strong from the point of view of interpolitical positions. And this gives him the opportunity to adjust the concept in accordance with his vision. The adjustments that we see, I would say, they correspond in many ways to our vision. And probably we can hope that this can be such a modest guarantee that we will be able to constructively continue our joint work on the search for a peaceful settlement in Ukraine, at least. There is even a confession that NATO needs to stop expanding. Is this even the point? Of course, of course. There is also the wording against confrontation and in favor of dialogue, building good relations. This is what Putin is talking about. And this, of course, is pleasing on the one hand, but on the other hand, we know that it happens when everything is written very beautifully, conceptually. But what they call deep state does everything differently. It happens so. Listen, we will have both national responsibility and personal responsibility, legal responsibility for these steps. Give us guarantees. No one wants to share responsibility with them, but they really want money. This money, which they are talking about, is just enough to spend Ukrainians for a couple of years like bullets. But we hear the statement of the International Monetary Fund, where it is very, very careful to talk about this topic, and calls for such steps not to have any negative impact on the international financial system. That is, even the IMF. What is the IMF? This is what they created. This is the basis of the monetary policy of the monetary world. And it turns out that this basis now speaks against its predecessors and says, remember, a phenomenal situation. This has not happened for a long time.